Hello, thank you so much for watching the Sashiko live streaming. This is Atsushi, and this is the English version of the Sashiko live streaming. I hope this is good. Just a second, okay, I have to check the voice. Okay, that's good. Okay, today I am going to talk about Sashiko and cultural appropriation. I don't know if the cultural appropriation is the term for what I'm going to talk about today, but it is the sort of the issues that I have to go through. So this is the live streaming about that. If the word might not be the exact same one, please, I'm not gonna change what I'm gonna say, but please let me know so I can learn from that too. I think everything is on. Let's do Sashiko stitching while I will start about that topic a little bit later, like 10 minutes or so. And after that, I will start talking about it, right? Just let me check everything is good. Just Sakura 危ない。Sakura! Sorry, they can't always. 日本語ですいません。私こライブやっていこうと思います。ありがとうございます。いつもご覧いただいて。今日英語でですね、ちょっとめんどくさいカルチュラルアプロプリエーションという、ちょっと、それが多分言葉として合っているのかどうかもわからないんですけど、文化の盗用って日本語ではなってしまってるんです。それと全く、それとはまたちょっと微妙に違うなとは思いながらも、それでもやっぱり話しておかなきゃいけないこともあるなと思って、それを英語で話そう。ずっと話してはきてるんですけど、それをあえてまた違う形でやっていこうとしているのが今回の配信になります。ちょっとだけ、時間を置いてから再開しようかなと思います。まずは差し越します。まずは差し越します。だから理想は差し越しながら、話をしながらですけど、多分どっちかになるかな。どっちかになってしまいそうな気はするので、まずは差し越しようかなと思います。Alright, and that was the Japanese explanation, and I will stitch Sashiko, and then we will talk about it. A little bit. Okay, this is good. Oops, oopsie, just a second. I hope this video is ongoing. I think it is on, but if you have any mic issues, please let me know as well. I will try to fix it as much as I can. And what? I'm a very newbie about this issues. I've learned this word 2 years ago, 2009, almost 2.5 years ago, and it was a very shocking thing to learn that there is an even word for that. And I really still do not grasp the whole picture of what they are talking about. But at the same time, I can probably provide the voice from the one who is doing the cultural practice and in the trend in the English world. I will share my ideas, and your comments will be very much appreciated to kind of stimulate the discussion. I am still very newbie, and I really do not probably know what it is, and I might be saying something off the topic. At the same time, I do believe that what I say is not so out of the topic too. I've been doing this for a long time, 2.5 years. Well, only 2.5 years. So if, well, not if, your insight is probably going to be important as well. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for coming. So today, in a few minutes or so, I will start talking about the cultural appropriation, which I still need to learn. Yeah, it's a really interesting world we live in now. So any freedom of choice, individual choice, can be valued more than what actually is. And the goal is not to eliminate. So this live session's goal is not to eliminate or reject or limit somebody's creativity or somebody's practice. I want everybody to enjoy Sashiko the way they want to, but I just want them to be mindful that what they do may be changing the culture without them realizing it. Unfortunately, there are the trend to change the cultural practice of Sashiko on purpose or intentionally, not on purpose, well, intentionally with knowing it. And I have to stand up for that. And that's what I'm gonna do. And I want you to think about it, how that can be helpful for the other issues as well. So the goal is to make kind of not agreement, sort of the peace. It is not my intention to make the disagreement. Disagreement is fine. We don't have to agree each other. But I want this to be able to, well, I got a comment which was very much the exact example of the, if I call it cultural appropriation, that's the cultural appropriation I define, or the pain that I feel by somebody trying to change the culture of Sashiko. I used to get those comments a lot, but recently I was not receiving it. Yesterday was that. So it is very easy to kind of define what is not cultural appropriation, but it is very difficult to define what it is for me. For me. So today I would like to talk about it to see if we can do that. It's going to be a very sensitive topic, but I will try to jump on that as much as we can. Just a second. I don't know if I can stitch while I talk, so I will probably not stitch while I talk. But then it's not Sashiko live streaming, so it's like a dilemma. Well, how about this? If I will keep stitching, and then if the things get really excited, if I really have to use my brain, then I will stop stitching and then talk to the camera about it. Okay. So today, let's start from now. It's 10 minutes, I guess, 10 minutes in. Today, I would like to talk about the cultural appropriation in Sashiko. Happy Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. Um, I would like to talk about the cultural appropriation, yet I do not know what the cultural appropriation is at this moment yet. I'm very newbie to this concept because I was the Japanese who lived in Japan. Therefore, I did not have a chance to even learn this word until recently. Unfortunately, I learned it the very hard way. That's why I had to study a lot. But I am still learning what it is. And the definition or the description I shared today does not deny the other people's definitions or description. For example, one opinion, one saying, one definition of the cultural appropriation is that the only people who belong to that culture can practice or can use that word or the practice. For example, when it gets to extreme, I do not believe that, but it could be the form of that Sashiko can be done by only Japanese people. That's one of the general understanding of, that's what the people imagine when I say the cultural appropriation without listening to what I explain. I do not think like that. I do not think like that, so I want them to read what I'm writing. But so it might not be the best word for that, but what I say is that anybody can enjoy Sashiko. Anybody can enjoy Sashiko, and I want everybody to enjoy Sashiko if they want to. They can, of course, call their stitching Sashiko or Sashiko inspired, whatever they want. Only one condition, though, that I want them to keep learning. I want them to want to learn Sashiko instead of focusing on the Sashiko they know, rejecting the other Sashiko they might not know, and then focusing on their Sashiko and insisting that their Sashiko is the whole picture of Sashiko is an issue, cultural issue. And I don't know if it's called cultural appropriation, but I think it's part of the cultural appropriation issue. And that's what's happening right now, unfortunately. But since, as long as one is willing to learn what Sashiko is, I am perfectly fine with that idea. Doesn't have to be, the one doesn't have to be the master of Sashiko, or they don't have to master, be fluent in Japanese. It's just for me, cultural appropriation is not the ability or the what they do. It's about the attitude when we use the word we do not belong to. It is unfortunately, I think it is wrong to use the foreign word for their profit without paying attention, with the intention to change that culture for their profit. I think that's wrong, and that's very sad and not disgusting. It's a really sad thing to do. But it's not us who can stop that. It's the majority or power influential group to change it. In order to protect what I do, I try to speak up. I try to speak up as much as I can so that you who understand this language, in English, the strong language, and then you can be the part of the whole picture of what we do. So it is not about, like, you don't have to be able to stitch evenly. You don't have to, like, I don't even, talk about the result much. I always talk about the process. So it doesn't have to be the perfect stitching, or it doesn't have to be the traditional patterns or the artistic patterns. It does not really matter for that, unless one person is willing to learn. So I will share what I defined as such cultural appropriation, or the pain from the cultural issues that I've been experiencing. Most likely, most likely, not most likely, most of the time, I do not feel like that. Many people, I feel that many people respect what we do, and they try to learn what it is first. And I want them to use the word Sashiko or get inspired by Sashiko. But unfortunately, there are people that on the other side of the spectrum. After this much thread, I will do that. I will show the comment. That was a very unfortunate comment, but that has to be, well, the reason I'm kind of sharing that comment is that the person deleted the comment. I do not mind the disagreement because we don't have to agree on everything. We can disagree, or we do not even have to like each other for that matter. We don't, he doesn't have to, or he or she, I don't know. They don't have to like what I write. They can really dislike it. But he wrote that what I do is not, what they do is not the cultural appropriation. And I gave him my understanding of that, and he that I think that's he, but they disagreed that. That's okay. That's okay to do that, but deleting deleting the comment that I also spent some of the time and my emotional labor is very insulting and also disgusting for that. So I will share that topic today. Can someone use, well, Sashiko for non-traditional project? The answer is yes, but again, there is one condition. If they are learning, if they are willing to learn the Sashiko as the whole picture, which requires a lot of open-mindedness, because they might have to go, they might have to hear something not comfortable. But unless they are willing to learn the whole picture, I do not have any project. I mean, I do not have any problem with anybody using the word. Uh, if they know what, if they are willing to learn the whole picture, which I don't even know the whole picture yet, then probably the chance of changing the culture is very minimal. So that's what I want to try to communicate. And I don't think it's a very difficult thing to do. I don't think it's like a lot to ask for that. So there we go. I will share the comment. I believe that it's, yeah, it's the, just a second, okay. How can I change? I'm sorry. So, 数えて、あ、そうか。1と2で。Sorry, just a second. Well, just a little bit before that. I'm sorry. I will talk about just a little bit before that. Sorry, just this. Some may worry. Some may kind of have the idea that the big company or like major brand is using the word Sashiko for their product. Isn't that the cultural appropriation, or isn't it a problem? Yes, probably. in the big picture, yes, that could be the problem, I guess. But it is not the source of my pain for that matter, because, for example, Nike made a Sashiko sneaker, and I received quite many comments that isn't that the cultural appropriation. I'm sorry for they were sorry for me for them using Sashiko for their product, and I really don't feel bad about it. I mean, I didn't want it. I did not want the Nike Sashiko shoes, but at the same time, as I really didn't feel bad about it. I really not feel. Hmm, I was not insulted. I was not feel bad about it. I was not damaged. My inner organ didn't move. I just simply accepted. Okay, fine. That's what's going on, right? The reason is there's a reason behind it. The reason I do not think that's the issue. It is probably the issue in the bigger picture, but this is my personal. The reason it's not an issue is that they move on. The bigger manufacturer or the marketing company using the word Sashiko is very, very, very temporarily. Temporarily. If the trend of Sashiko is gone, they will move on to something else. So it doesn't really matter for that, because if they move on, the culture will be there. As long as the people who we try to keep practicing Sashiko, it will be there, no matter what the big company says. Um, those who appreciate the Sashiko sneakers by Nike is not usually equal to the audience of Sashiko practitioner. They I don't think they enjoy Sashiko for their life or for more than a few years. They might try to do Sashiko by like to make their sneakers looks like Sashiko, but they will not contribute to the cultural shift or changing the culture itself. So it might be a problem of cultural appropriation in the big picture, but I do not consider that as the issues. I mean, it might be not what you want to hear about it, but that's my honest opinion, honest insight. Um, I'm not encouraging them to do it, but at the same time, it doesn't really make me want to do something about it. It's just a trend. Trend is, I don't want to say shallow, but trend is very momentary, and then therefore, when Sashiko's boom is gone, they will probably move on. The the problem I really am concerned about is those who think they know Sashiko and then spreading that that's the Sashiko the whole picture of Sashiko. I don't know what the whole picture of Sashiko, but I know what I do. And I know that there are not almost, numbers of Sashiko styles in Japan. So defining one Sashiko, a few Sashiko, or like a piece of Sashiko as the whole picture of Sashiko, that's a big problem, because those who do not have a voice, their Sashiko can be erased in the history. I do not want that happen. And in the Western culture, in the English, it is very important to define things. I have to define what cultural appropriation in order to talk about cultural appropriation. We don't do that. Sometimes Japanese don't need the definition. So we never had those discussion that which Sashiko is the right Sashiko or the authentic Sashiko or not. We can coexist. And I do respect the other Sashiko form in Japan. I hope they do to me too. Um, in spite of us not fighting or defining what Sashiko is in Japan, the non-Japanese outside of Japan is defining what Sashiko is a little scary. Not a little, it's very scary for that. And that leads to the discussion of what cultural appropriation is. And Again, I don't know what it is exactly. Could be the anthropological term, or I don't know where it came from. I have to learn more about it. But if we can specify that it's the pain by looking at how Sashiko may be completely different in English, that's the message I can share today. And you should. I want you to try Sashiko, and I want you to enjoy Sashiko. And if you like it, I want you to call it Sashiko. But I want you to learn. I want you to keep learning, keep listening to our voice instead of ignoring that for their profit or their convenience. I don't think that's too much to ask. And I will share the example today. All right. So, just a second. This comment is deleted, so it's almost impossible to follow who this comment is from. So, Ari, just a second. Not this one. Ari. Ari. Wait, just a second, okay? Ari. Just a second. Where did it go? Hey? Just a second. What? Just a second. I lost it. Where did it go? Where did it go? Ah. Sorry. Just a second. Where did it go? There we go. So this is the comment. I'm sorry. Wow, it was a very mess. あれあれ Come on, please. No? I have to do this then. I thought I did it. Download. Give me a little bit of time. So sorry. This is not as I intended to do. I thought I had it. Just a second. I have it here. Download. これよしとここに貼ってですね。画像で。Boo. There we go. Okay, finally. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you for waiting. I read out loud, and this is the cultural appropriation I define. And unfortunately, this is pretty much the things I feel the pain from. So I am the textile lecturer and ISO lecturer in fashion. As a creative, I have an interest in the way other cultures produce different textiles. I have attempted to produce samples of Sashiko and also presented the techniques to my students. It is by no means perfect, but it is also not cultural appropriation as I do it. Not to exploit this culture form of textile, but do it out of interest and creativity. I agree one should try and understand its original historical source, but there is nothing wrong in wanting to replicate something because of its beauty. If people were never allowed to copy another culture, creative, historical art form, hairstyle because they were not of that heritage, what a boring creative I'm sorry, what a boring creative world we would be. I do, however, think that collects of such textile of original Boro needs to question their motive for doing so. Boro sadly has become blah. The Boro is not at the point. The Boro is a little bit off the topic for that. But this comment is the cultural appropriations form because I mean, this person is excusing him. I'm sorry, this is probably he, so I would say he, because the reason I have there's a reason I consider this is a he. So he is excusing himself to not to learn by saying that it's the art form. Um, Technique is merely one perspective of Sashiko. It's not a whole picture. In fact, Sashiko is not the word for the specific technique. Sashiko is not the word for the specific design. But that's how it is introduced in English, and he is probably only capable of reading the English text or whatever available in English right now without listening to what I'm saying, without reading what I'm sharing. As the result, he can write this kind of ignorant comment. Um, it is okay to copy, it is okay to replicate something, but it is not okay to define what it is just by its beauty or by just how it looks. It is not gonna limit someone's creativity, but it is not, sometimes the culture is not somebody's entertainment. Why is he thinking that it's boring? Like, he cannot make something entertaining by risking somebody's pain. That's very much oppressive comment. Well, this is not really the worst comment. I always get this kind of comment, so it's really not these things. If this was the only comment, I wouldn't be this um, articulate about it. This can be it, but the next thing is the issue. Next thing is gonna be very surprising. I did not expect to receive that. So I replied, I'm really unfortunate I did not capture a screenshot of what I wrote back, but I replied to him that that's one of the example of cultural appropriation I define. Therefore, please read what I've been sharing. There's a YouTube videos on this channel. I talk about the cultural appropriation. It is not what he wrote. And just whatever he does is the only case of cultural appropriation. And I've been talking about it on my Instagram and also the YouTube. He did not probably look at it. He did not even watch it. And then he wrote it. So I just told him, told him that please read, please watch before we discuss, because what you wrote is the form of it, and then I'm not limiting somebody's creativity and such. So I just told him that it's the issue, so please read, please study more. His answer was like this: I disagree. I have never said what I do or know or my attitude is one of respect. I am a creative person and we have a creative God. He made everything even before any culture. My wife is Asian and I do know something of Asian heritage and culture. If one is not allowed to discover other people's way of doing things and try to appreciate the world around them, the world has become a selfish place. This is very scary way. If he believes in this, literally, it's very scary for me. There are many points that I have to point out. Marrying Asian does not make him Asian, first of all. So, of course, like I married a Jewish person, but I'm not a Jewish at all. I cannot speak on behalf of Jewish people. It does not mean that I became, I tried to, it's of course closer, but it does not. Sometimes people sometimes try to argue with me that they have a many Japanese friend that they understand what Sashiko is. Good for them, but they are your friend, not you. And well, he made it like a racial issue. That's another story. But the categorizing Asian in one idea is also scary. So he does not know anything about the Japanese heritage, probably. So it is. I'm sorry to say, this is probably a white person, and he is the everything I can think of the scary thing about that. I'm sorry, this is my assumption. So I am sorry if I'm wrong, but this can be completely scary place to read this. This is the mindset behind the issues I'm talking about. Um, this is not appreciation. This will never be appreciation. This is the appropriation. If he is gonna use the word Sashiko, I will fight until the end, because this is gonna he is gonna change the word or culture or meaning behind it and the story, everything, as he wish. He is a selfish person to change as he wished, so of course it's gonna be a selfish place, and I wanna stop it. I have to stop it. So if you worry about what cultural appropriation is, this is it. The thing I talked about is the only um, yeah, I cannot think of the other cases. This is the only case that I would consider as the cultural appropriation. Um, Believing that what they do has right to do it, and they can minimize what the voice from the actual original countries by saying that they try to appreciate it. The appreciation is not the word; it's the action. As long as he's not doing it, that's not appreciation. And the third is just he doesn't give us. I'm sorry, he doesn't give F about any of what I've been sharing. So this is not a discussion. This is just his, you know, he did not like what I wrote, and he's trying to suppress my voice, which did not happen. And lastly, most importantly, he deleted that comment. I don't mind learning this. I don't mind reading this comment because that does not make me upset. I'm not upset. I'm not upset. I'm very afraid of it. This is very scary comment to read. And if the world is like this, it's very scary to be there. But this comment doesn't make me upset. But he deleted it, which means that that means something. So I have many resources from my voice. What is the cultural appropriation and what is the cultural appreciation, including the Instagram post. I will list it on this YouTube video, and also there's the video clip that I talk about the cultural appropriation. So those are my ideas of it, and I am very much easy side. As much as I respect the strict side of the cultural appropriation issue, I am very easy side. Anybody can and should call their stitching Sashiko if they want to learn about it, if they respect that. But there are people who do not do it, and that is not a small amount. It happens. It really happens. So this is it. If you worry about it, this is very extreme. Uh, let me. If I'm talking this much, I should come. I'm sorry. I should come out. So this is very simplified, and some people might not like it. But there's one thing very common in those comments that I receive that really is painful. Is that they do not doubt that they are doing something wrong. On the other hand, there are so many people who worry about what they do, and they keep asking me, do I do the cultural appropriation, or do I, am I doing okay? Um, it's very simplified answer. If you worry about it, don't worry about it. because the process of you worrying is the process of learning. If you worry about it, you probably will learn. You will probably read about it, or you will probably watch about it, and you will probably keep learning about it. The learning doesn't require like years of studying. It can be just reading and understanding it, or even listening to it. So if you worry about it, I do not worry too much about it. Of course, the care, the worrying about it is very important, very appreciative. So it is important, but at the same time, if you worry about it, I don't want you to worry about it too much. If you do not worry about it, probably you're not here at this moment. But if you do not worry about that, if you think what you do is Sashiko, and if you think that that cannot be changed by anybody because that's the creative art that they do, and if you think that you know the Japanese Sashiko culture because you married to somebody Asian, not a Japanese, somebody Asian, that then you might want to worry about that. You may be probably most likely doing something horrible to those people who are in that culture. That's simple. That's very simple to me. In fact, I have to make it simple because it's a very complex concept, and I have so many books that I've got to read it. So I want to make it simple, and that might create some distortion, and I may have made any mistakes in the explanation. I am a newbie as the POC. I moved to the US in 2015, no, 14, and I recently became a father of POC. So the idea of POC is very new. I don't share the pain that many other POC would go through because I was the Japanese who lived in Japan. That's very different from being POC. So that's what I define. That's how I feel. The definition of pain is that here. Like if I have something here, then that's I consider it as the pain. If it comes here, like around face, that's not the. It's more like a joy for that. Oh, sorry, there's a comment. Thank you. I don't know. I saw some dog whistles in the first comment, so I was shocked by the second one. Make me think that he doesn't care one way or another. So the first comment is very common. I understand. I really understand their point of view. The Sashiko is beautiful. Therefore, what is the problem of using the beauty to their art? There's nothing. There's no problem at all. Please go ahead. But since you're using the word Sashiko, please learn what Sashiko is for us. Is that too much to ask? Because, probably what they do is not what I teach or what I share or even what I practice. So I just don't get it. At the same time, I kind of understand how one can be like that, because I would have been one of those if I did not come outside of Japan. If I stayed in Japan, I may have been one of those people. Therefore, I am very much scared of his comment. Was very scary. Hello from UK, you explained this very well. Thank you. That means a lot. I'm trying. This might not be the answer to all of the cultural appropriation issue, and I do not think it is the answer, but it is one clear, simple form of reply to those many who worry about what cultural appropriation in Sashiko. So pretty much they are not doing anything wrong. And even if you started Sashiko today, and if you decided to call it Sashiko stitching, if you're willing to learn, if you're listening to this and willing to learn what's the story behind it, go ahead. I'm happy. I'm very happy for that. Welcome to Sashiko, and that's it. You don't have to be the master of Sashiko stitching. You don't have to be fluent in Japanese. It's just the attitude. It's just the mindset that there might be something more because that's the language, that's the word which does not belong to them. しのぶさんありがとうございます。思いっきり英語でやってます。But again, this is not the general issue of cultural appropriation. It could be more, it could be deeper, it could be more variety, and I do not mean to minimize any of those voices from the people who feel the pain. So if they say that stop doing it, I think we should listen to that, and we will follow that. But for Sashiko, and if there are another Sashiko artisans who think differently, I will explain that. I will introduce their voice as well. But there are not that many Japanese Sashiko artisans who can speak English like this without a translator. And then translator can be very tricky for this because they have to also understand what Sashiko is to translate it. So I may be very few who can speak out of my heart. For that, it's very simple that if you care, you don't worry about it. If you think you are doing everything right, then don't do that. Because you are using something does not belong to you. And this is very simple, and I will keep it like that. I will keep this message as simple as possible because that's not my main field. I'm not an activist to talk about it, and I don't want to be the activist to talk about it because there are more people with more pain. Again, I'm a newbie for this. I may be different if I keep receiving those comments, but I am still okay with that. The reason I shared those two comments is because the person deleted it, and it really, I'm not upset about what he wrote, but I'm very upset what he did, deleting the comment, because that's really much minimizing what I did. It's not easy for me to write English that length and reply to that. It's not only the language issues, but it's a lot of emotional labor, although it doesn't really, it does not drag me to deep down anymore. It used to. I'm okay right now, but still it's a lot of work. So deleting the comment is very much minimizing that. And since I learned from the mistake, I screenshot it, but I kind of forgot that my comments to be screenshotted. Well, next time I will do mine too. But it's exactly what I explained today. My reply, I probably didn't screenshot because I knew that I would make exactly same reply no matter what. So that's the conclusion of today's live streaming about let's talk about cultural appropriation. I was kind of expecting, I was not expecting, I'm sorry, I was ready if I might have a very strong disagreement. The internet can be a very scary place. I usually, those comment comes from both sides, and the people who support is always a silent side, and the small amount of the people who attack me is the loud side. So I was preparing for the worst case scenario, but it didn't happen. So this is the today's result. Not the result, the conclusion. I will stitch a little bit more so you may be able to share some questions. But I do the exactly same thing from now. I have been doing the exactly same thing, talking about Sashiko, sharing the stitching, an edited version of stitching so you can learn by looking at it. If you need my personal attention, I have an online workshop and also in-person workshop, so you can stitch like us within a matter of few hours or a few days or a few weeks, depends on the person's flexibility. They have to sort of uninstall what they have first, then install both of them together. So it has a little bit of mental and muscle breakthrough they have to go through. So it's not always, I cannot promise that everybody can be done within the few hours, but some people get it right in the few hours. So my message has not been changed. Please let me know if it's different from the previous message I had shared. I believe that I have not changed anything what I say because I do not, I'm not that smart to change what I say every time I say. I used to lie a lot, to like a white lie to make things easier, but I realized that I'm not that smart, especially in English. I cannot remember all of the fake statement I make. I just can't memorize everything. So the only thing I can do is to be honest and no fake. I don't really make those sweet talk, because if I make one sweet talk, I have to memorize the sweet talk I made to the specific person, because so that I'm not gonna make a contradiction. That's a lot of brain work, and I'm not that smart. I wish I could be that smart, but I'm not. So ever since I decided to Sashiko, I decided to be completely not honest. How do I don't faking is very risky for that. If you change what if I change what I say based on who I'm talking to, then that's gonna be completely different. But only difference what I make is the today's conversation. Either one is willing to learn or not. This is the only boundaries or line that I care. If one is willing to learn more, I welcome. If one is not willing to learn, I don't want them to do Sashiko. Again, I don't want them to call it Sashiko. I don't mind them doing Sashiko, but I don't mind them doing hand stitching, but I just don't understand why they have to call it Sashiko if they do not want to learn from them. It's just not logical. Like, I welcome everybody. I want to be friend. I want to be friend with everybody who wants to learn what Sashiko is. But why do I have to be friend who call what they do Sashiko, yet they don't want to learn what Sashiko is? Then why do they have to call it Sashiko? Well, there's a reason, somebody told me. Because it makes money, because it gets attention, because it's a trend, because it is available, because they cannot change their mind, because they've been teaching that all the time. But that's selfish, right? That's really selfish approach. So, wow, just learn. I appreciate learning from you. Your handwork is quiet and method. I'm sorry, it's little method. See, that's my English problem. I appreciate learning from you. Your handwork is quiet and method. I cannot say this word. Methodical beauty. Thank you. Please know that many of us want you to share your gift in the manner that you chose. Thank you. Yes. And I do know that those people are very minority. Do we call that loud, noisy minority or something? I don't know that, but I really understand that 99.9% are different. They care, that's why they are listening. And when they listen, they don't have to make comment. They can simply listen, right? So I know that what I do is doing something. But at the same times, I have to ask you, I have to keep it sort of bigger, for because the other side of the Sashiko is getting bigger too. The trend of Sashiko is getting bigger. So as much as I say that I don't care how many follows me or how many listens to what I say, I care who listens what I say. 貴 丁目 method. Thank you for that. It is true. I still believe that I care who try to listen to me, and I will keep sharing this as long as there's one, as like if there's any one person who is listening, who is willing to listen, I will keep doing it. That's how I started live streaming. So it doesn't really matter how many, or even on Facebook or Instagram. But at the same times, there are many people who choose not to listen. Unfortunately, this is very unfortunate, but there are people who decided to not to listen. That's probably what my not advisor, my not a teacher, not a mentor. There are ladies. There are one lady that I really respect from my heart in the textile of both Japanese and English, American textile, and she's been in this field for probably more than 30 years. She knows me when I was a child running in the shop, so that's how long she is in that. I really, I think she should write a book before me. But anyway, she told me that I was late by 10 years or 20 years. Like, I told her that I am doing what I do, speaking of what Sashiko is. And she told me that it is probably 10 years or 15 years late, because the idea of what Sashiko is or what Boro is already determined in English. So my word, my voice is somewhat surprising to them. Instead of introducing the Sashiko as the fresh white canvas, me drawing it, I have to make sure to not to blend weird colors on that. So I took it, like, I don't think it's too late. I mean, I don't want to think it's too late, but she is right. It is too late to do it without paying, because they are already the trend that it might not be the same as what I share. And those people who are in the trend, they cannot change. I mean, if they're willing to change, that's, I'm happy for that. But if they have, if they are already defining what it is, they cannot change the definition so easily, especially if they are teaching. If they are just enjoying it, then probably it's not that difficult. But if they are, it's the really extreme case scenario. But let's say that I'm doing this running stitch, right? Then I call it Sashiko, and I sell it as a Sashiko, and people buy it because it's Sashiko, Japanese Sashiko. What if this was not Sashiko? In the future, there's no way that you confirm what I say, because if you know the Japanese, you may be able to take this one and then bring it to Japan, and you may be able to ask around. But that's a possibility. It's not truth, but it's a possibility. And if that was a fake, it's the end of my word, because I lose all the credibility. And it's happening to some of them too, because if they admitted that, then probably that's the end of. That's a very big contradiction. I think we kind of, including myself, we trust the translation too much. Like, when we read the translated version of the book, we believe that information is correct. It is probably correct. I mean, if they have a publisher, if there's a translator, it is probably correct. There's nothing wrong with the language-wise or contents-wise. but there might be missing. And in order to find what is missing, one has to be the one who practiced that. So it's not easy to pass down the culture, especially some culture that is already almost dying in the original country. Sashiko is not the past yet, but it's very much about to be. In fact, Sashiko, most of the Sashiko, there are of course exceptions, but most of the Sashiko, the Japanese decided to discontinue it when we became wealthy. They did not want to stitch when we had money. So it is very strange culture that it has a very different stages in its history. It was not from craft from the beginning and then today as the craft. It changes its form as we live in a different age. So it is very difficult to define one thing, and I don't want anybody to define by one perspective. So I don't define as it, like I don't define easily, and I don't want anybody to define that. Instead, I want them to find what Sashiko is. Okay, so when I talk like this, I cannot stitch much. So this is as much as I could stitch today. And this was really, I did not mean to talk like this today. Today's, it's kind of not fair to say at the end, but when I decided to offer this live streaming a few days ago, let's talk about cultural appropriation, I was not gonna talk about this. I was gonna ask what is the cultural appropriation for them, and then I decided I was going to sort of clear their worries, because the people who worry about the cultural appropriation are not the people who appropriate the culture to me. It's kind of opposite. The people who don't wonder, who don't question about that is the one. So that was the message that I wanted to convey a few days ago. However, because of the comment I received, I had to kind of make it more straight to the point. Because of that comment, I could share what is the example of that. Without that comment, I wouldn't be able to explain what is the exact case of the issues that I'm experiencing. So today was a little bit of a spin-off, but at the same time, it is very important for us to keep sharing what Sashiko is. And I hope...しのぶさんありがとう。いいのにって言っちゃダメか。ありがとう。しのぶさんありがとうね。Okay, so this was today's plant dying is troublesome but fun. This is the lady, the Shinobu-san, the comment who gave me the super chat is the person who will be the next generation of natural dye that I will probably introduce. 合ってる。大正解。It's a kind of good topic, but one of my goal is to not to I should probably show my face. 合ってる。So my goal is not to be the best Sashiko artisan. Probably you can tell me that because I'm not really focusing on stitching. I love stitching and I do stitching pretty much every day, but my goal is not to be the artist of the Sashiko stitching. I do enjoy it, but that's not my goal. My goal is to invest my time and everything I have to make it somewhat sustainable in Japan or in the world. I want Sashiko to be sustainable so that somebody in the future can learn, follow, and appreciate what I am doing and what I have received. For that, I'm trying to invest a lot of time to people who are learning what Sashiko is. And I started doing that in Japan first. Therefore, there are several like genius, like very brilliant Sashiko artisans as well as the natural dye artisans. I call them rising artisans, rising artisans, but some of them are better than me already. So she's one of those that she focuses on the natural dye. She started from the Sashiko stitching, but I kind of pushed that she might be well suitable for the natural plant dye. That was a good hunch, hood, good intuition. So she is in that. How can I say? Troublesome routine, but she enjoys that. So I really, really, really want you to learn. That's it. Otherwise, I'm not gonna share the unedited version of my stitching. Anybody can copy it, and I encourage you to copy it. Otherwise, again, I'm not gonna show the unedited version. Of course, of course, of course, of course, it'd be very helpful if you could support me by taking the online class or buying thread from us. But at the same time, thread does matter, supply does matter. So it is this for the sustainability of the Sashiko culture, which includes suppliers, also the artisans who make those supplies. Um, it's not that complicated, but it's probably complicated for some people. That's why it's for me it's very simple. For me it's very simple, and I don't think I'm asking too much. But unfortunately, for sometimes it is too much to ask. For some people, it is too much to ask. But only things I can do is to keep sharing. I just have to keep sharing at this moment, and that's the only things I can do. It's not the Japanese things to articulate one problem, define it, because we don't define the problem. We don't solve the issues. It's you, it's the people who are listening to this who can make the difference. Not the people in Japan. They enjoy sashiko as they want, and that's the culture of Japanese sashiko, and it's gonna continue as they are. But the English is very strong and powerful language, so those who understand what I'm saying right now in this English are the people who can make a lot of big, significant difference. And I'm really counting on that, on you, who is listening to this. Okay, I am not very good at editing the videos, so it's not that good quality to watch in the short term. But if you would like to listen to those live streaming, there are a lot of videos about that, so please enjoy that. And I hope you have a great Thanksgiving week. It's day after tomorrow, right? It's probably day after tomorrow. Oh, which we don't really celebrate because of that, but thank you so much for. Oh, one more question. Beyond listening and listening, are there any shop supplies we can shop with to support this craft? Yes, I do have a web store online. We do the international shipping. I'm located in the US, and there are tons of information on this website because it's like a database of all the information. So I explain what is the best thread, what is the what. I'm sorry, I explain. Sorry, I explain what is the best thread and why the best thread is the best thread. Does it make sense? And I explain what is the best thimble, what is the good needles, and I explain why it is good. We have all reasons, not because that can make money. No, that's not it. There are reasons in their histories that they made those specific tools and specific supplies, specific fabric. And that's the part of the culture, that's part of the sustainability, cultural sustainability there. That's Upcycle Stitches is the store name that I have. I do it by myself. That's the individual thing, located in the US. And Yeah, that's the best support I can think of is to learn from me. The more you stitch, the better it can be. So the more you stitch, the more people will ask you the question. When somebody asks you the question, you can talk on behalf of me. You can, of course, refer me to them as well. But at the same time, you know what it's Sashiko right now. You know what cannot be described and what can be Sashiko. So it is not that difficult to appreciate the culture. When one thinks that they are appreciating the culture, they might be appropriating. But when they are thinking that they might be appropriating and they're worried about it, that's the sign of appreciation. That's how simple it is again, to me, not to the other people. All right, thank you so much and have a good night. I hope to see you soon. Bye bye. ありがとうございました、しのぶさん。また金曜日、日本語で入ります。なんかすっげえな、このナイト。またかなり嫌いですね。ありがとうございました。おやすみなさい。バイバイ。